Hi, I'm Jayne.
And I'm Jen.
And we're Spill Mill.
And we have played over 150 different roll and writes. And so we thought we would count down 50 to 1. We are in the top 10, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. These are the best of the best in our opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, you may agree or disagree, and you can comment below whether you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for now, what is your number 10?
Well, my number 10 is a little bit of an outlier, I think, on the roll and write, flip and write, because this is a flick and write, and it is Sonora.
Okay.
And so in Sonora, by Rob Newton and Pandasaurus, you have a circular board with 4 quadrants in it, and you have 5 discs numbered 1 to 5, and you're flicking them and trying to get them in a particular quadrant. And whichever quadrant you're flicking from that round, you can't land your disc in unless it bounces back. So it's really tricky, and the board rotates as you go. Those 4 quadrants then align to 4 quadrants on each player sheet, and each one has a different way of filling in the bubbles on them according to where according to the numbers that you flick. So there's a lot of sort of different experience within the game, which is something I really like. There's different ways to score. There's sort of different ways that you're filling in depending on which quadrant you're in. Each one corresponds to a different desert animal, a bird of prey, a hare, a lizard, and a fox. And it's just a really neat game. It's super creative. There's, of course, lots of bonuses. So, you've got those combos going, which is the hallmark of almost every great roll and write. Not all, but most of them. And so, yeah, that is my number 10, Sonora.
It's a good choice. All right.
Great. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is, well, it's actually, as we're filming later this week, pitchers and catchers are reporting for spring training. And my number 10 is very thematic for that, and that is Deadball. And this is a baseball simulator type of game from William Akers and Akers Games. And it's a really simple dice-driven system for simulating baseball games. The Deadball era, Deadball refers to the Deadball era, which is the historic era of baseball, before, the live ball area, which we're currently in. So the Deadball books come with all kinds of teams that you can build, and also instructions on how to build your own teams, build your own players if you want to do that, and then you can play out these games. And we've had a lot of fun playing this. We'll simulate modern baseball too. Why not? And it works pretty well for all. We went through, you basically, roll some D100, see if you got a likely hit, and if you did, then you roll like a D20. If you get an out, then you roll a D10 to see what kind of out it is. You can steal bases, and with the advanced rules, you can even do things like have brawls and hit batters and stuff like that. So it's really fun. This is a really, really good simulation of baseball without the complexity of, say, roto baseball or something like that. So I really highly recommend it, and that is Deadball, and that's from my number 10.
Yeah, and I did not grow up as a baseball fan. I really just started watching a lot of baseball as an adult, and even more so when we got married. And I learned so much about the game from playing this game with you, how to keep score, but also just a lot about what each different position does, and the different strategy that there is in baseball. And so this is a really, really great choice. I love this game.
That's really fun. So
yeah.
What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Three Sisters by Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, who, in the process of researching this, I found out also did Floating Market, which is a worker placement that we have. That's I really love the theme of that one. So this design team we really like a lot, and Three Sisters kind of hits it out of the park for me as a combination of both mechanisms and theme. The theme is, of course, the indigenous practice of planting corn, beans, and pumpkins or squash together. They sort of work together in how they grow. And the mechanism, of course, is a roll and write, and you've got different gardens on your board, and you've got a shed area with lots of different actions in it. You've got an apiary and an orchard, and so there's a lot of going on in this. There's a lot of game in this for a roll and write. It also has a rondelle method of picking your dice, and so if I pick a 1, that's going to tell me I have those dice in this quadrant, or that dice in this quadrant, and you're going to then not be able to pick those same dice unless there's more than 1 in there, and you're going to have your choice based on what I take, and vice versa when it comes to you being the first player. And so it is just a really, it's a hearty game for a roll and write. Combotastic, of course, which we love, and really highly thematic. And so that is my number 9, Three Sisters.
All right, good choice. I like that one a lot. That was like by 13, I think.
Yeah.
So my number 9 is a game called Trails of Tucana. And this one's basically a map of an island, and you're trying to make paths between the towns on the island. The towns are sort of lettered A, B, C, D, and then there's 2 of each letter, and then you're trying to connect A to A and B to B and C to C. At the same time, there's different wildlife all over the island, Tucanas, and other things, sea monsters, and you're trying to connect them to your paths to your towns. So you get points whenever you connect a critter via path to a town, but you also get points for every time you connect a town to its same lettered town. So it's just a real simple path building game, and it's really fun. It plays very quick, and we usually play, there's a little island and a big island on the other side of the sheet, and we usually play both every time we play it. So it plays quick enough, and it's just fun and delightful, and you just play along.
We're racking up the plays. So this is the point where I should mention that this is our second time filming this. The first time we filmed it, something went wrong and we had no sound. And so what I realized the first time we went through this is that I forgot to put this on my list. And this would absolutely be top 20, most likely top 10 for me. We're not going to see it. It's not a crossover because I forgot it. Something I say a lot in this series of videos, but it is what it is. So you're going to get more selection because I failed to put this on there.
Yep. So that's my number 9, Trails of Tucana.
All right. Well, my number 8 is, I think, a crossover. I think you already mentioned it, and that is Silver and Gold from Phil Walker Harding. It is a super small, super portable, easy to get to the table, flip and write game where you have you're choosing cards from a center area, and then you're flipping over polyomino shapes and you're filling those in on your cards, which are ostensibly islands, and there might be gold on the islands, there might be palm trees that you get points for, but really each island you get points at the end of the game. So you're just trying to fill up as many of these islands as possible. It plays really quickly. It's really easy to understand and get to the table, and yet we never get sick of it. We have played this so many times, and it is one of our favorite light filler games. It's one of our favorite quick games. When you were really sick and we were having trouble getting any games to the table, this is one that you could kind of like make it through, and we'd feel really good about having played it. And it's just one that I think is going to last in our collection for a long, long time. That is my number 8, Silver and Gold.
All right. That's a good one. That was my number 11. Number 8 for me is a print and play roll and write dungeon crawl board game called Dungeon Pages. You were all aghast at this pick last time, but
it's just so high for such a new game. It really shot up there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great game. Yeah,
it's a fun dungeon crawl game. It's got a low barrier of entry. I think the only negative to the game is it can get a little bit fiddly with some of the rules as you get some of the more advanced creatures and stuff and their creature abilities. You might be like, there might be some gray areas where you're just like, does this proceed over the basic rule that works this way? But basically you're building paths through a dungeon. It's a little grid dungeon, and you're writing numbers down in squares, and you're following certain rules and rolling dice to do that. If you write a couple numbers next to an item, you get to collect it. If you have a sequential path of numbers that are the same number or plus or minus 1 of the previous number, you get to collect experience points from that dungeon. You go through 4 little micro dungeons or mini dungeons, and then you fight a boss dungeon. And it's just really fun. There's a number of different characters. They're releasing a new here our new dungeon sheet every week for the whole year 2023. So check it out. You can still get this on Print and Play Arcade and join in the fun. So I definitely recommend it. And it's my number 8, Dungeon Pages from Jason Greeno and Jason Tegmeyer.
Yeah, this is a really great game, and we did a review on this if you want to hear a little bit more about it and kind of see the pages and some of the mechanisms, and what we rated it. So yeah, check it out.
So that's my number 8.
Well, my number 7 was very fortuitous. At number 7, I didn't do this on purpose, but it is Seven Bridges. And Seven Bridges is designed by Ronald Halliday from Puzzling Pixel Games. And it is a map of the town of Königsberg, which is a historic German-Prussian city that is now Kaliningrad. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Russia. It is, there's 7 bridges in this town, hence the name. You're rolling dice each turn and you're drafting the dice. And there are different, like a straightaway on a road, a crossroads, a T, a turn, a little half road. And so you're drafting those dice and you're drawing a map across the street grid.
Sorry.
Sorry to bore you.
I'm just.
She really does like the game, folks.
I'm just fatigued.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you're drawing a map, you're putting in your street sections and drawing a map, and you're trying to get over as many bridges as possible. And there are 7 different ways to score, I think. Yeah, 1 for each bridge. And you only get to choose as many scoring conditions as bridges you've crossed. So you really want to get across those bridges. Sort of the biggest a point score in the game is that your longest route that creates a completed loop, you multiply the number of turns times the number of bridges it goes over. So you really want to try to get across as many bridges with your biggest loop as you can, which is really tricky. Sometimes you just can't get over. You've crossed a bridge, but you can't include it in your loop without going back over yourself. So yeah, so this is just a really great game. It's great solo. It's great with 2. We've played it so many times, haven't gotten sick of it yet. Yeah, so that is my number 7, Seven Bridges.
And in case you forgot, my number 7 is Seven Bridges crossover. Woo! So we went through this already. It was very exciting. So reenacted as best we can. But also pretty much what Jen said. Seven Bridges is really fun. If you're really into roll and writes and you get this one, Ron Halliday, the designer, does a monthly challenge on Board Game Geeks. You can go in and do the monthly challenge, see if you can beat the designer. So that's pretty fun. I haven't done this much yet, so I got to do it. And, see how it goes from there. But highly recommend Seven Bridges, my number 7.
And he's got another game coming out this year, right? About hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah,
specifically through... Sorry, go ahead.
It's called Hike It, I believe. So.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and his games are based on Cartesian principles. Seven Bridges has that. And Hike It also has Cartesian principles as a core sort of... is it a mechanism, I guess? Or it's more of a theme, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, check that out.
Yeah, very excited for that one.
Yep.
All right, so my number 6 is one we haven't played in a long time. We only played a few times. Probably had I remembered the games that I left off the list, it would have been slotted in here. But I loved this game so much, and it was the first really chunky roll and write we played, and that is Roman Roll from David Turchi and Nick Shaw. It has a central board with a street grid on it with different neighborhoods or that's not what you call them, sections of the city. Quadrants, I don't know. And then underneath of that, it has a sort of like area where you're going and exploring and conquering territories. And so what makes this really interesting for a roll and write is that because it's a central board, when you're drawing your buildings on the central board, you're sort of competing for space with whoever you're playing with. And there is some value to having somebody place a building next to yours. You get a senator when that happens, or maybe it's when you place next to their building. But there's also a tension there because you really want to, I think, get as many buildings in one district as you can. So it is, like I said, the first really chunky roll and write we played. It is dice, and there are resources on the dice, but the dice have like a ton of resources on them. So you might get, a dice with like 4 different types of resources on it. So there's a lot of decision making involved in this game. There's a lot of different paths to victory. Yeah, it's really thematic. I really love, I love history, especially ancient history. And this game kind of brings it in that sense.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my number 6.
It's a good choice. This is one I didn't think of as a roll and write.
Yeah.
It feels more like a full-fledged board game, and I just didn't think of it to put it on my list. So, but it might have made it if I had.
Yeah.
My number 6 is a game I haven't played in a long time. You have, and for me, I just remember it being amazing. I remember all the combos, great combos, and the general feel of the game. Although I don't remember all the logistical nuances or specifics, I guess, and that is Hadrian's Wall. And I know this is a very popular solo game with many people, or it's technically not a solo game purely, so, but it's a good game to play solo, so I think a lot of people do play it solo. But it's a pretty fantastic roll and write, definitely very chunky, and worth, I don't know, it's got the nice theme around Hadrian's Wall. I think you'll be talking about it more later, and about Hadrian's Wall, hopefully, which is the inspiration for the wall in Game of Thrones, I believe. And, that's about all. That's my number 6, Hadrian's Wall.
Yes, I will definitely be talking about this more later. I have soloed this a number of times, and yeah, it's a really good game.
I just got too sick to play it for a while, and I could play it now, but we just haven't gotten back to it yet.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Boomerang from Scott Alms, and maybe it's a roll and write, maybe not. I think some other folks have had it on their roll and write list. We had a whole conversation about whether or not this counts.
It's got a score pad where you kind of that looks like a roll and write sheet.
Yeah. So basically, it's also a card drafting game. You've got cards.
Draft and roll, I guess.
Yeah. You've got cards that are. I'm going to talk about the Australia version, but there's 2 others as well that have different locations and sites on them in Australia, and you are passing the hands back and forth and drafting a card each time, and you're trying to get pairs of animals. You're trying to visit as many locations as you can, especially all in one territory, because if you're the first one to visit all locations in a territory, you get to score that. You are trying to, sightsee and do as many activities as you can. And so the game is 5 rounds, and as I said, it's card drafting. Then you're filling in a sheet with everything that you see each round. I love this game so much. We just played it yesterday, and it reminded me how much I love it. There are newly published versions of it for Australia, Europe, and the US, I believe. I really, just out of a pure nostalgia, I think, stance, love the original. That's, we've had that game since we got it on Kickstarter the first time and have just played the heck out of it. And it is a game that I will play any day, anytime. And I don't get sick of it. We have so many plays of this, especially when you look at all the versions, and I keep playing it.
It's fun.
Yeah, so that is my number 5.
All right, it's a good choice. I really like Boomerang. My number 5 is a crossover in this list, so obviously a good choice. It was your number 10, I believe, and it is Sonora. And this is a flick and write game, and you talked about it, but you have 4 quadrants. You're flicking. Each quadrant has different rules it plays by, but it's got a roll and write board, and you're marking things down based on what your flicking disc gave you in terms of number of marks. And so then you'll mark a bunch, you'll get a combo, which will let you mark either more in that section or another section, which will let you do more in another section. So it's super combo-tastic. I really enjoy just playing this one through, and the flicking just adds a nice element.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I'm not very good at it. The dexterity element of it is tough, but so good.
This is a top-notch roll and write. So flick and write. So I check it out. Number 5 is Sonora.
Great. My number 4 is Railroad Ink. Any version. Deep blue, lush green, blazing red, whatever yellow is, dry yellow.
Dry? Shining yellow.
It's like a desert.
It's shining yellow.
Okay, shining yellow. Whichever one. It is a route building game. You're rolling dice that have railroads and highways on them, and you're trying to create interlocking routes. One big route is better than a couple small, though if you connect a couple small to all of your exits, that works too. You've got exits on the board, and you're trying to connect the route to as many exits as you can, and you score based on how many exits your route connects to. This game has a lot of expansions. Not only are there 4 versions, but then there are, I don't even know how many different mini expansions. And those mini expansions include things like a Cthulhu expansion where you're drawing like monster tentacles on your board, which I love. It looks great. Yeah, this is a game from Hjalmar Hawk and Lorenzo Silva and Horrible Guild that we just play, again, all the time. These top, some of these, not all, but some of these top roll and writes are ones that we just can go back to over and over again. Again, when you're your sickest, we can almost always get these on the table, and we love them. And we go back to them when you're not sick, which is really, a testament to how good they are. Yeah, so that's my number 4, Railroad Inc.
I forgot to mute my computer, but it's done. It's muted. Yeah, Railroad Inc. is fantastic. I think I've played it 60, 70 times, so at least. So, yeah. My number 4 is maybe more of an RPG than a roll and write now that I think about it, but I have it as a roll and write, so I'm counting it, and that is the Quest Calendar. The Quest Calendar is a series of Quest Calendars, really. We backed this in 2021, 2022, 2023. We're doing now is the 2023 one is a sci-fi one. Mm-hmm. The previous 2 were more like D&D type themes. 2022 had a lot of portal jumping from between worlds, which was kind of neat. Mm-hmm. And this one's so much about the story. It's it's an RPG. So every day it's a page a day a calendar, and every day you have a singular event, and maybe it's just trying to land on a asteroid or something like that, or you're trying to fight off some creatures or something, and you roll some dice and you write down your results. You have a character sheet you keep track of your information on. So it is basically an RPG, and it's an RPG every single day. It takes 2 minutes usually to play, sometimes up to 5 if it's a big day. Mm-hmm. But you can also, if it's never too late to sort of join in with this one. We found that it's really fun to binge. So if you fall behind a week or several weeks or a couple months even, it's no big deal. You just binge through it. It's so much fun because you do a whole series of events in a day instead of just one, and you can go on a full adventure. So yeah, I really highly recommend it. You can still get it online from Sundial Games, so check it out. Quest Calendar. Voidspark Chronicles is the current one.
Yeah, and we actually have a review of this on our YouTube channel as well, so check that out if you want to know more about it. All right, so my number 3 is Fleet the Dice Game. Ooh. In our original video, I had flipped around 3 and 4, and I kind of forgot about that, so I don't know. We'll just call this number 3. The reason Fleet the Dice Game, I kind of reversed it with Railroad Inc. is I had played it solo recently on the airplane, and I think it was maybe a function of the AI, but it got a little bit samey. I felt like I kind of understood exactly what strategy to play against the AI. It's very different with 2 people. So Fleet the Dice Game is from Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, Eagle Griffin Games. This is the predecessor of Three Sisters. There's a lot of overlap or in the DNA, I think, there. You've got different sections on your player board, and you're basically you're fishing or sightseeing if you're like us and we don't kill the animals. And there are a bunch of different types of boats that catch a specific type of fish. There's a wharf where you can do actions like build a cannery, which is a weird thing to do if you're only sightseeing. And there's a market and a town, and there's just a lot going on in this. And so when you roll the dice, you're choosing one, your opponent is choosing one, and then you share the third. And so that, to me, gives it a little bit more strategic depth than playing against the AI, because you know exactly what the AI is going to do, and I can say, well, I'm not going to take that one because I know they're not going to choose it. right? So it just makes it just a little bit more exciting to be able to kind of go against a person and compete for those dice turns, and try to anticipate what they're doing and hedge your bets on it. But there's so much happening in this. There are so many combos. It's combo-tastic, like Three Sisters. For me, if you've got ADHD, like these games, seriously, they like are dopamine hits. Like you're shopping, like, oh, which one should I pick? Which one's going to give me the best combo? Oh my gosh, that gives me 3 combos, and then that gives me a combo, and then that gives me a combo. Oh, these are so satisfying to play. I can't even explain how happy playing Fleet the Dice game and Three Sisters makes me. So that is my number 3, Fleet the Dice game.
Yeah, I still think Three Sisters is better, but
Yeah, I think they could probably like flip back and forth for me depending on the day or my mood.
I'm just sort of trying to egg you on.
Doesn't work, dear. We're Care Bears.
All right, so my number 3 is my top game for a game that synthesizes a full-scale board game down to a roll and write dice game, and that is Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. And this really does a good job of synthesizing Isle of Cats down to a roll and write. It's just like Isle of Cats in the sense that you have the same boat that you're trying to place cats on. And in this case, you're just drawing them on, so you're drawing shapes, polynomial shapes, at least, because drawing actual cats is difficult, especially at that scale and with markers. But
It is.
It's the same puzzly polyomino placing game, and it's just got good, for a roll and write, it's got extremely good decision making depth. It creates a grid of 4x3 cards, and you pick a column of 3 cards, and you have to draw each of the cats on those cards. If you get a lesson, then you get to score that lesson at the end of the game. And also there are 3 times in the game you can break those rules. You can choose a row of 4 instead of a column of 3, or you can choose 1 from each row instead of a column, etc., etc. So it's pretty fun, very challenging, just like the board game, and you get a really great experience out of it. It's really the best synthesizing down of a board game that I can think of. So, and I think like I've mentioned, Castles of Burgundy, Rogers, the Dice Charmers. Mm-hmm. There's other good ones, but this one's spectacular.
Yeah, it really is. And this is another one I forgot. If the audio had survived from yesterday, you would have heard me say I never win this game. Well, we played last night, and guess who won?
She cheated, I think. I don't know what happened.
I totally threw my usual strategy out the door, and I went for lessons. And on the first round, I got a lesson that was 15 points if you only have 3 treasures on your boat, and that's what I went for. And so I didn't put the cats over any treasure maps. I took a lot of negative points for not filling up rooms, but I still managed to eke out a win. You had a not great game, so that helped. But I won, and we're counting it. So this is a great game. I love this game.
Anyway, so that's Isle of Cats, my number 3, Explore and Draw.
Fantastic. Well, now my number 2, I suspect is a crossover coming up soon, and that is Cartographers, specifically Cartographers Heroes collection, by Jordy Aiden and John Brieger, and Thunderworks Games. And it's theoretically set in the role player universe, and part of that series of games, but it doesn't really feel like there's a connection. Doesn't matter. One of the best games ever. Oh my goodness. It's a flip and draw, so you're flipping cards that tell you to draw one of 2 shapes and either one of 2 different types of territories: village, forest, water, field. There's also monsters in it, and those, if you play the right way or the way they suggest you play, your opponents put on and try to sort of sabotage you. We play the Care Bear way, and we have it placed according to the solo rules. The thing that makes this game endlessly playable to me is that the goal cards are, is the goal cards. And so you've got 4 goal cards every game, and they're in A, B, C, and D position. And then the first round you play A and B, the second round B and C, then C and D, and then A and D. So those gold cards are really different depending on when they come up in the game. If you have scoring only in the first 2 rounds, for example, fill out a whole column, that is going to really affect how you play those first 2 rounds, versus if it's in the last round where you don't have to think about it, you're just naturally going to fill up a lot of those columns. And so that, along with the heroes, which allow you to fight monsters, and then the various different expansions, the different map types, make this game just a forever game. We've played this so many times. We will continue to play it. I don't know that we'll ever get sick of this game. It is really wonderful. And I think even if we did tire of it a little bit, a little break from it, and we'd be back.
Yep.
So that's my number 2, Cartographers.
That's a really good one. Number 2 for me is a crossover within this list. You just mentioned it not too long ago, and that's Railroad Inc. from Horrible Guild. And this is a particularly fantastic roll and write. It's a route building roll and write. You're building trains. Jen talked about it a lot. So all I'll say is that I really love all the mini expansions. We played the Cthulhu one, had a lot of fun with that. But there's still a few we haven't played. So there's so much variety with all the different expansions. I really love out of the base games, I like the Lush Green the most. Mm-hmm. The Challenge Edition gives you a few more bonuses as you draw routes. So you can do the factory, which allows you to duplicate route pieces that you build, stuff like that. And University lets you get another special. So I like all that. And I like the Forest expansion quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I like drawing forests. I'm a forest person. So, particularly I have an affinity for forests. So
yep.
Anyway, that is my number 2 game, Railroad Inc. from Horrible Guild.
Yeah, I love the Lush Green too. That's one of my favorites. So, and as you know, I love this game. So my number 1, you've already mentioned it. It is a crossover on this list, and that is Hadrian's Wall from Bobby Hill. So in 122 AD, Hadrian, the Roman emperor, visited Great Britain, and it had been destroyed by the Picts. And so he said, we're going to build a wall so those darn Picts can't get over and attack us. And so they built this wall from coast to coast.
They built a mall. It was really ahead of their time.
It went 80 Roman miles, which I don't know how much a Roman mile is, to be honest, from coast to coast in Great Britain. And it stood for 300 years. And of course, you can still see portions of it in Great Britain. This is the sort of Mac Daddy, Grand Dame, grandmother, superhero, blah, 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 of all roll and writes as far as I'm concerned. It is the best. It is a super chunky game. It's a flip and write game. You've got 2 sheets. So that tells you there's a lot going on. On one side, you're mining and foresting and building the wall and building hotels for your workers and building roads and other stuff like that. And then on the other side, you've got 5 different types of citizens and the buildings in which those citizens do their business. So you've got traders, performers, priests, I can never pronounce this. 5 years of Latin didn't do much for me. Apparitores, which are public servants, and patricians. And so there might be a theater that goes with a performance, and the priest might have temples. And you are your resources are people. You're getting people from those cards, and you're dedicating them towards doing all of the things that you need to do to build the wall and to create your sort of Roman civilization in this outpost. It's played over 6 rounds, and at the end of every round, the Picts attack. So what that means is that you can't neglect any one area of the map. It's really or of the your player sheets. You have to really balance how you're approaching this game. And there are multiple paths to victory, but you can't totally ignore anything. And I just really like that. It's really thinky. It's really crunchy. It's super thematic as far as I'm concerned. And I love it. And that's why it's my number 1 game.
All right. It's a good choice. Hadrian's Wall is really popular, and it's a good game.
Yep.
All right. My number 1 is no surprise to you, but it is Cartographers Heroes. I just have so much fun with this game. I love coloring in the different features. For me, when I was really sick, it was very pensive activity. I could just spent a lot of time coloring because it took me longer to think, um, and still does at times. So I find this game super pensive, super zen, super relaxing, which is really good for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also super strategic. So I think the full combo of all that makes it a spectacular game. It's a really good introductory game to introduce other people to. People seem to have a quick affinity for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I just think it's fantastic. The heroes adds on the heroes, which can attack any monsters around, which I think is a really fun addition to the game. And we like all the different map packs you get as well. So you get all kinds of variety from those map packs.
Yeah.
So we play each of the map packs when we can. So yeah, Cartographers Heroes, my number one.
Woo, woo, woo.
All right, so that's our top 10 roll and write of all time.
Yeah, would love to hear if we've missed any that you think are really spectacular. Let us know what we should play if we haven't mentioned it.
Yep, absolutely. If you want to disagree with our picks, go ahead and do that as well. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, every day that you game
Is a holiday.
Bye.